Welcome to a quick and dirty edition of Blurb TV. I'm Andrew Garda. We haven't done these videos in a long time. I'm going to start rolling them a little bit, as a lot of you guys who listen to the podcast and read the site know. I'm in the Windy City, Chicago this week, so I thought I'd jumpstart some of the videos again. Do a little bit for Big East Gridiron later, but we're going to start over at Thundering Blurb with some NFL discussion. I want to talk about something I saw during the Monday Night Football game between the Jets and the Vikings, which may make people a little less worried about this Darrelle Revis hamstring. Hamstring has been re-aggravated. You could see it last night when he was playing. Just wasn't himself, but Antonio Cromartie's had a pretty good season so far. Cromartie was once a Pro Bowl cornerback and could be again in this scheme. And it is all about the scheme. Now, it doesn't necessarily work if you've got a guy like Dwight Lowery, who's an okay player, or Kyle Wilson, who's not quite there yet. He's just a rookie. But a guy like Cromartie, who has the raw skills to be a very good cornerback, this scheme benefits him. And let me tell you a couple of the ways that the Jets' defensive scheme sets up a top cornerback to be his best. First, they love to blitz. The Jets love to blitz each and every down in any way, shape, or form. They come from the left. They come from the right. Doesn't matter. The Jets will blitz. They are who they are, and who they are is a blitzing team. What that does is generate a lot of pressure on the quarterback. This pressure does a couple of things. First of all, it makes sure that he's not comfortable in the pocket, so he doesn't have a lot of time for progressions. He has to choose his target and go. And secondarily, a vertical threat, such as Randy Moss on Monday night, has a little bit more problem getting that separation he needs to be really successful. And we saw a huge difference between the early portion and some of the latter portion of the game when the Jets were effective at getting at Favre with the blitz, and that middle portion when Moss burned Cromartie for a touchdown, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But the blitz generates a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and for a lot of quarterbacks, including Brett Favre, but this is mostly for guys who aren't the Tom Bradys and the Peyton Mannings, who can kind of just pull magic out of the air. It pressures the quarterback into making hurried and not always so good decisions. So a blitz is going to help set up Cromartie to be a guy who can take advantage of that, be in position to succeed, and possibly get a couple of picks. Now, the other thing that Cromartie can do that this offense does well is because of the pressure, it allows a cornerback to keep pace with a vertical threat like a Randy Moss. Now, Moss is very fast. The longer he runs, the more separation he gets from cornerbacks. Even the fastest cornerback has a hard time keeping up with a Randy Moss and Andre Johnson, guys like that. Now, in this particular scheme, Cromartie is able to stay closer to Moss before the ball comes out than he normally would if a quarterback has too much time in the pocket. Cromartie's a fast cornerback. He's not incredibly fast, but fast enough to keep pace for the shorter amount of time that Moss or whoever has to get vertical, and so they don't get as much separation. If you were to look at NFL Rewind and watch all of the Moss targets, a lot of those targets, Cromartie was right there on top of them, and it's because the pressure is building on the quarterback, on Favre in this particular case, and there's not enough time for Moss to get the separation he needs to be successful. Now, I said we'd talk about that touchdown, and we will. Brett Favre's 500th touchdown. What happened there is the blitz came, as it will. And some people have criticized that blitz a little bit, but the Jets, who they are. They're going to blitz. So this blitz came, and the right side of the line, which had been weak up until this point, did a great job of sealing off that outside and giving Favre time, and then Moss time to get that separation. Now, the Jets often bring over a safety, in this case Leonard, to try and help Cromartie or Revis or whoever. But in this particular case, the way the blitz was, Leonard wasn't in position. Now, wouldn't have made a difference, because if you look at that touchdown, Cromartie was about 5 to 10 yards behind Moss. Moss had gotten that time to get that separation to be successful. As long as the Jets blitz successfully, they will be able to give Cromartie the time to line up against any wide receiver he comes across. Now, it would be better if Revis was there, because the fact of the matter is that Lowery or, Wilson, other people on the other side of the field are not as good as Cromartie and not nearly as good as Revis. You have both those guys on the corners, you have a fantastic chance to shut down a pass attack. But the Jets face some good opposition, people they match up with well in the coming weeks. I think you rest Revis, and Jet fan, you don't worry about Cromartie being there. He's having a very good year, and this Jets scheme sets him up to have a very successful season. We will continue to see this as long as the Jets are successful at blitzing, and now they have Calvin Pace back, and it's only going to help. And as long as the Jets can kind of keep the middle of the field closed down. That's the other thing that happens, and it happened to Revis, and it happens all the time. Harvin burned them across the middle, and Wes Welker does it a lot, and it's because the Jets pull in those linebackers and defensive linemen and an all-out blitz, and you have the safeties drop back and the corners on man-man. So there's this huge wide-open section in the middle of the field. It's where Welker usually kills them, and Harvin killed them the other night. But if the Jets can get that pressure in there, that middle of the field is hard to get out, and you can give those dink and dunks anyway, and the Jets lock down the longer side of the field, they can still be very successful. So, if you're a Jets fan, don't be so worried about Darrelle Revis. Let that hammy heal. The Jets will be better served by having him in critical time at the end of the season than right now. Don't bring him back too early. It's what they did this week. And it cost them a little bit because it only made the injury worse. I'm Andrew Garda. Thank you for joining me on Blurb TV. We're going to be back with some Big East stuff in a little while. Hope you guys are doing good. I'm going to go get myself some Chicago pizza.